Welcome to this explainer. Look, when we decoupled the fleet and control plane repos back in May 2026, we needed something to hold it all together. That's where the G08 Interface Contract comes in. It's literally the load-bearing artifact of this whole architecture. If you're setting up a new conforming control plane, or, you're about to make a cross-repo change, you're in the right place. We're going to cover exactly what you need to know so you don't accidentally break the system for someone else. Let's get into it.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Here is our precise, pragmatic agenda for tackling this cross-repo interface discipline. We'll start with the implicit coupling problem, move on to the 7 sections of G08, then contract versioning and evolution. After that, we'll look at when alternatives work better, and finally wrap up with the golden interface rule. First up, the implicit coupling problem. We're uncovering the ticking time bomb of hard-coded paths. So, picture this. It's May 2026, right before we formally decoupled the two repositories. We ran an inventory script and actually found over 135 latent fleet-to-control plane references. 135! They were just sitting there, scattered across dozens of files. And the real issue wasn't that the repos communicated. Systems have to talk. The problem was how they talked. They relied on implicit file system paths. These were basically ticking time bombs just waiting to break a build on the wrong machine.
To put that into perspective operationally, imagine you're an operator. Your pager goes off at 3 a.m. because Vault is sealed. You groggily open the fleet repo to find the runbook, and all it says is this one line. See the sibling directory. Yeah, a completely useless stub pointing to a file that might not even exist on your local laptop. If you didn't have that exact sibling path set up, well, you were flying blind at 3 in the morning. Absolutely brutal.
That brings us to Section 2. The 7 sections of G08, where we formally declare the cross-repo interface.
So the crucial point is this. The structural problem wasn't communication. It was the lack of a contract. The core philosophy of G08 is that this document strictly, completely details what the consumer needs, and it entirely ignores the provider's implementation details. It really doesn't care if your Vault server is running on a fancy Proxmox VM or Raspberry Pi. It only cares about the exact, specific surfaces the fleet needs to consume. Let's take a rapid-fire tour of the contract's actual surface. It's broken down into 7 distinct sections. First up, the Vault server. This requires 2 specific app roles, Host and Bootstrap, and mandates a strict 90-day secret rotation, plus a defined degraded mode if Vault seals. Second, the Arc runner. This hinges on a single label, Arc AMD64. And notice the producer-consumer flip here. The fleet actually authors the recipe, but the control plane builds it. Really elegant. Third, External Secrets Operator, or ESO. That needs the DGEX Fleet ESO auth role and a cluster secret store named Vault DGEX Fleet. Fourth, Runbook Ownership. This is literally just mapped out by who holds the credentials, 8 for the control plane, 4 for the fleet. Fifth, Day 1 Sequencing. This is a 9-step process where Step 7, the runner heartbeat, strictly gates any fleet work. Sixth, your observability sync. An ARIA endpoint is strictly required here, though you can optionally add Prometheus. And finally, Section 7, versioning, which uses Semver tied to specific just URLs. All right, moving to Section 3, contract versioning and evolution. How do we safely modify this surface? Let's be real for a second. Contracts have friction. They just do. So we require strict discipline to modify them without breaking the fleet's Ansible playbook. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how we handle additive versus breaking changes using gist URLs as the ultimate version stamp. If you're doing a patch bump, say a refinement like bumping the minimum runners from 1 to 2, you keep the exact same URL. A minor bump, that's adding an optional surface like image signing. Again, same URL. But a major bump is a breaking change, like renaming an app role. For that, you absolutely must generate a brand new gist URL, and, this is key, you leave the old gist live at version 1.x for any operators who haven't migrated yet. So how does this look in practice? Let's walk through a hypothetical scenario. Say you want to add a new DGX research fleet host auth method. First step, read the G08 versioning section. Is this additive or breaking? It's an addition, so that's a minor bump. Step 2, write your PR. Step 3 is the crucial one, propagation. You have to update the index files in both repositories in the same PR. Both sides must point to the identical version stamp. And please keep this in mind. Staleness budgets are not aspirational goals. They are the strict maintenance schedule for the contract's trustworthiness. Vault has to be verified every 180 days. ARC and ESO, 90 days. Runbook ownership is a full year.
If you touch this contract for any reason and you see that a section's date has passed, you are on the hook to verify that section before you edit. No exceptions. Section 4. When alternatives work better. Measuring the costs of contracts. Because honestly, they aren't always the right tool. Maintaining a versioned contract takes effort. There are times when it's absolutely the wrong choice. If you're dealing with fewer than 3 repos, a single team, and the same deployment cadence, just use a monorepo. The contract overhead there is pure friction. If you are just prototyping and both repos are living on your one local dev machine, just use file system path references. Keep it simple. And if you have external consumers that you don't control at all, you need a full open API spec. And this brilliantly illustrates where G08 fits. It perfectly threads the needle for the middle ground. Separate operators, different blast radii, but an internal team that can still read and understand prose intent. Which brings us to our final section, the golden interface role. This is the core operational habit we need to build. If you only take one thing away from this whole explainer, let it be this exact directive. Codify what consumers depend on, not what providers implement. Version it. Both sides reference the version. I'll say that again, it's that important. Codify what consumers depend on, not what providers implement. The absolute second you let implementation details like, systemd unit names bleed into G08, it devolves right back into being a runbook. Runbooks belong in the repo that runs the commands. The contract has to remain a repo-neutral artifact. So what does this all mean for you today? Well, are you about to change an interface surface? Maybe tweak a vault-off method or an arc label? Read G08 first. Figure out if your change is additive or breaking, bump the version correctly, and synchronize those repositories. If you master this habit, I promise you, you will never be the engineer leaving a broken runbook for someone else to stumble over at 3 a.m. Thanks for tuning into this explainer. Now go build something great.